Foreign Policy and Memorial Day, the Libertarian Starter Pack. Welcome to another installment of the Libertarian Starter Pack. My goal in this series is to let those not interested in voting for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump know that there is another option, the Libertarian Party. It is an interesting coincidence that the day I planned on talking about foreign policy is also Memorial Day. Since the two subjects are closely related, I will address them both here. I'll start by reading a post I wrote for Memorial Day a year ago. It is a reflection on the foreign policy that has killed many of our service members and, tragically, a nearly uncountable number of people in the Middle East. If we are to honor the individuals that have been killed while on duty, we must also consider if their sacrifice has borne any fruit. Surely it has, but it is the most rotten of harvests. The following is the post I wrote. Memorial Day, honoring the fallen and not sending any more to join them. May 25th, 2015. As a veteran, Memorial Day has taken on a very different meaning than it did before I served in Kosovo and Afghanistan. It used to symbolize the great sacrifices my brothers in arms made on behalf of the U.S. and its citizens. I do not see it this way anymore. It is not my opinion of those serving in the armed forces that has changed. It is my opinion of the government that has seen a drastic shift. Herein lies the problem of Memorial Day. It doesn't make us consider the wars these soldiers were sent to die in, and if the outcome was even worth it. I would say this is just as important as remembering the fallen. None of the conflicts or wars since World War II were entered into in actual defense of the nation. Think about it. None of them were conducted even close to our borders. And it has always been a pre-existing conflict that had nothing to do with the U.S., but they decided to get involved anyways. Vietnam, Korea, and many more were pre-existing conflicts that did not concern the U.S., but claimed the lives of thousands and thousands of U.S. service members. The war on terror has been no different. The U.S. government flung the armed services into two simultaneous wars on the flimsiest of justifications. The only plan for success was to spend years and years pouring blood and treasure into the crater where we bombed these countries into pre-civilization. 2,977 Americans died in the September 11 attacks. In the war on terror, we have lost over 5,000 service members and had over 50,000 injured. It is estimated that more than 1.3 million people have died in the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Nothing good can come of all this death and destruction in the Middle East. It can only fuel the hate against the U.S. and make the rest of us less safe. Iraq and the surrounding region has been so destabilized by U.S. occupation that right after our forces are pulled out of Iraq, terrorist forces like ISIS fill the power vacuum. Saddam might have been evil to the core, but he was secular. He maintained stability in the region and did not tolerate Muslim extremists. The Christian population in Iraq, who were safe under Saddam, have suffered extensively at the hands of ISIS. In light of all this, Memorial Day has become a perverse joke of the blackest sort. The U.S. government has used the men and women who volunteer to serve as defenders of the country as expendable pawns in its enthusiastic desire to flex its military might. It then devotes one day a year encouraging its citizens to honor their dead, hiding in plain sight its reckless foreign policy that creates so many dead and wounded in the first place. The final insults of our fallen is the utter chaos in the Middle East that renders their deaths meaningless and makes the U.S. less safe. Memorial Day should be about remembering the fallen and honoring them by doing our best not to send any more of them into the grave. End of post. The 15-year experiment in the Middle East has failed, at a huge cost in blood and treasure for both the U.S. and the people in the Middle East. The U.S. government has toppled their longtime dictator allies in the area to make the situation worse. The destabilization of the Middle East has brought two tragedies with it: ISIS and the refugee crisis. Not only is there so much more death and destruction, we are now seeing it flood into Europe. Europe is seeing an uptick in the number of terrorist attacks and other cultural issues. Does anyone really think that the refugees won't be at least a little bit angry that their countries have been destroyed and are being forced to flee to the countries that did it? The West has done the equivalent of kicking a bee's nest and then shoving it in their pants. My time in Afghanistan taught me one thing at least. Our time is being wasted in the Middle East. The people there are not ready for democracy. Hell, they're not even ready to lead their own armies, and won't be for a long time. I used to joke that the US should just annex Afghanistan and run the country like another state. Our mission there was to help modernize a part of the Afghan army, but we were also not supposed to force them into doing things our way. Needless to say, nothing ever got done. They didn't want to do the work, and we had no authority to make them. The perfect recipe for shoving your thumbs up your ass for almost a year. That right there is what nation building is. Recently, though, the US government has shifted from large-scale nation building to bombing people they don't like with methods that are inaccurate for reasons they don't fully understand. Libertarians support a strong defense of the homeland, and that's it. We cannot do any good trying to influence a conflict in which neither side is the good guy. Bring the troops home, free trade with those that are willing, and diplomacy. Military intervention and nation building in cultures and conflicts that we'll never fully understand can only make the world less safe. This is how we honor our fallen, past, present, and future. Thanks for listening. Live free.